Biehle.
Well, thank you very much, Anna. And Jamie, welcome.
Thanks, Al.
Is that a rash on your left arm? Or are you just happy to be here?
I'm just happy to be here, Alex.
Yeah. Look at the antennas on the flag. That's all you have to do.
Right.
Anyway, so Jamie's been around. How many years have you been tuning race cars?
About 15 now. 15
Now that goes back to small tire stuff.
That's
I've
right.
seen you all over the country. I mean, you've always been on winning teams. It seems like everywhere I see you. Not every day, but almost every weekend you find a way to get a guy to win.
We've been pretty fortunate. We work with a lot of great teams and work with Steve Petty. I've worked under Steve Petty for about 15 years now. So, yeah.
So it's been 15 years that you worked for Petty. Let me ask you, how did you get a job to work with Proline? I mean, how does one do that? I mean, there's so many tuners working out of that stable now.
So the story's kind of long, but I'll just cut it down as best. But I had a customer that I was working with. I built a car for him, Jason Enos. He hired Petty to come out and tune his car. But at the time, Tim Lynch and Steve Petty were running their own Outlaw 10.5 car.
Yeah.
So at the races, I would tune Jason's car against Lynch and Petty. That just progressed, started sharing data with Petty, and one day he said to me, man, I really need somebody to come on and help. And I was like,
the rest is history.
The rest is history.
I'll tell you what, when they see what you did with Enos, that was a bad-to-the-bone car.
Yeah, it was cool.
So that led you into going into Proline and then working your way through ProMod. What was your first ProMod tuning job?
So my first ProMod tuning job was with Michael Biehle, which we ended up running NHRA ProMod with it. We started out in NMCA and won a championship over there with him, but that was my first, one that I took over for myself, we'll say. Steve Petty still helped kind of get it going in the right direction, and I took it from there, and we raced together for, I think it was 5 years. We had a great time,
And then now I like to say it, everybody in the sport is something to me. I mean, whether you're a race sportsman or professional, but now you're in this rank with NHRA ProMod. You're tuning some of the biggest names. Give us a little rundown of what you're tuning this weekend. What I'm going to do is get into a little bit of the technical part. You can tell me a little bit about the car you're tuning, then I'll ask you a little bit about the other 5 power adders of this class.
So I'm working with Brown Motorsports, Derek Brown and William Brown. William Brown is the driver.
That's their first year.
This is the rookie year. Yeah, their rookie year. It's a screw blower combination, new body style Camaro, 19 Camaro that Larry Jeffers race cars built. Proline supplying all the power for it. M&M transmission, we kind of our whole package that we run through Proline. But I raced with these guys in some outlaw racing last year. We had an unfortunate accident and car got tore up pretty good, so they decided to go with a brand new car, and they had interest in coming over and racing NHRA ProMod. So
that's a pretty smart idea.
Yeah.
A brand new car instead of bringing one that's been band-aided up or repaired.
Correct. You gotta have top-notch stuff to run over here.
Absolutely. So the power adder on that's a blower, right?
Screw blower, yes.
You guys have been doing blowers at Proline for a few years now.
Yes.
And I remember watching Petty tune on some blowers when he was first starting, and I went up to him, really? He goes, yeah, I'll get it. He goes, I'll figure it out.
Oh, he definitely will get it. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the transition, I ran NHRA back a few years ago, and we raced, we started with Michael Biehle, and that was a turbo combination. Then Petty has always messed with the screw blower stuff, but not at the level of this, right? Kind of went away from it a little bit. The ProCharger combination came out. A lot of us and our customers switched over to that combination, which we did really well with. We won a bunch of championships with the ProCharger combination, and now it just kind of progressed to, not that the screw blower is a new combination by any means, but for us as a group, we've started learning it.
And then, on all these, for the fans or the people that are interested, there's a weight in all these. I mean,
that's correct.
Turbos, you got a blower, you got a screw blower, ProCharger, nitrous oxide. You know what I'm saying? There's a weight that goes with everything to make it a fair playing field when they're out on that track.
Right. So they offset the weights for the combination that when they do basically an average to see what the cars run, and they slow down or speed the cars up just based off of weight. Some of the combinations have gear ratio rules and things like that, but most of the combinations are right around the 2600 to, let's say, 2640 range. Yeah. The ProCharger combination is about 100 pounds heavier, just because the combination has shown that it needs that much weight on it to make parity in the class.
I watched you over there when you were working on the motor this morning, and you said, well, there's outlaw heads, some heads, and I'm looking at you going, really? I mean, So if you're using a style head, the Outlaw, does it give you a performance? Does it give you more performance out of the?
So basically, an Outlaw head that I was talking about, that is a bigger valve head, bigger intake valve, and so they have a weight penalty if you're going to run that. But what it allows you to do is, guys that, let's say, run some Outlaw stuff, they don't have to go buy a new head, right? They can run that combination and then just add a little bit weight for that. So even out the playing field, right? And it helps for guys that maybe want to come over and just run a few races. They don't want to have to buy a whole new set of heads and things like that. So NHRA has done a good job by allowing us to come over with a little weight penalty. So then guys can decide which way they, which combination they wanted to go with.
You've been around all the different configurations, the bodies. Is there a body that is, Camaro, Vet, whatever, is there a body that you as a tuner prefer to see your power in?
Quarter mile racing, I like the 19 style Camaro. Eighth mile racing is you don't see the gains because obviously the aero package once we get over 200 miles an hour. But NHRA, I like the new body styles. The Mustang's a really good sleek body. And what NHRA has also done, when you bring that up, for the older body styles, they let you remove some weight to help with the aero pack, basically even it up that a 69 Camaro or 68 Camaro gets a little weight off of it.
Does this go with us for the wind tunnel? Or is it,
yes, they have. Yes, they have. They put the cars in the wind tunnel and kind of get an average of how much horsepower it takes for that body style to go through the air and then make the changes accordingly.
So, on your word of the Mustang, I could see that. How it comes off the roof line and the trunk.
Correct.
And it's almost like an airplane wing.
Yeah, if you look at the new body style Camaro and Mustang, they're very sleek. Windshield pillar is laid back more compared to like your 68, 69 Camaro, and then the 55 and 57 Chevy that the windshield is almost vertical in it, and exactly. Right.
What's really cool is we see the different bodies in this category of pro mod. What's really neat is watching the transmissions. And I go back, I'm an old guy, so I go back to clutches.
Right.
When they, on a track, and a hot track, you better be good at a clutch.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what they're utilizing most of these teams as a transmission today.
Most of our combinations, the Proline group run M&M transmissions. It's based off a Turbo 400. Obviously, that everything in the internals of it is billet, titanium, all different types of material in there, and that combination we've just found to be the most consistent. Right? We know our converter packages. We know basically if we change a stator by a couple degrees, what we should see, how much more it should flash, like pulling weight off your clutch, right? Yeah. To make the motor flash, to slip it a little bit more. So utilizing those same components, we know how to make changes. And educated guesses will say that if we change a stator or a pump or a turbine, that it's going to make these characteristic changes in the engine and what it's going to do to the tire, so that we can tune the car for different conditions, just like you were saying, adjust the clutch.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so the automatics, do you guys ever go to the ring opinion? I know it's quarter mile, and I come from 8th mile a lot of racing, but.
So typically on most of the combinations, the rear gear is dictated by NHRA of what we can run per combination. So for the screw blower, it is a 410 rear gear. For the ProCharger combination, it is a 430 gear.
They do that probably to keep it even balance.
That's right.
RPM to
100%.
Give someone the edge or something with a
correct.
Smaller gear.
And they'll make changes. That's something that they made. I believe that change was made later last year for the screw blower. It was a 389 rear gear, but they saw that they kind of needed a little bit of edge, so they gave it a little more gear ratio to run a little more RPM, get the engine happier in the RPM range and things like that.
Jamie, with the things you do on these cars and tune them, bring us through the regimen of what you make a pass, you come back, and you get under the tent here. Bring us through what you have to do in this Pro Mod class to get ready for the next round, or when you're in eliminations.
So basically, you've got a group of guys that are there solely to work on the race car, right? They're going to go through all the mechanicals. First thing they do, basically on these automatic transmission deal, very important to get the transmission on the transcooler, get the temperature out of the transmission, because if you don't get the transmission down to, let's say, 90 degrees or something, your flash is going to change. change on your converter, right? So it's not going to drive the tire. So that's the most crucial thing. Get that in.
Is that the first thing you get in?
That's the first. Get the yes. Go right to the trans cooler, right?
The oil out.
Yeah, they just they basically what they do is they cycle it through a cooler, okay, and it just brings down the temperature of the transmission. It just pumps it through the torque converter and everything. And so, right, and so what it also does is it pulls out some of the heat in the case, in the converter, so that it's just pulling all the heat out of that, so that when we go back up there, we try to make these cars run as consistently as we can. So our temperatures need to be the same, right, so that we know the changes that I make on the laptop will produce whatever ET, hopefully as close as I'm trying to predict an ET with it.
How hard does that get for you?
It's very hard.
All right, so when you say the laptop, and I mean, it's been 20 years I've been really doing laptop tuning, a lot of guys. But when you go to the laptop, obviously the air condition, the fuel delivery, you're looking at everything to gain a little more ET or gain mile per hour.
100%. So we run today at 115 to just give you an idea before we were coming up here. I'm looking at the weather station. I'm making timing and fuel changes based off of what I believe the air will be. Now, I obviously, when we get into lanes, I may make last minute changes depending on, you know, how long we sit in the lanes, things like that. The water grains, the barometer, we use what we call correction factor, and I have we all have calculations that we use for fuel and timing to try to achieve a specific ET that we think we can run for the conditions that are given, right? So we have guys, my son does it for our team, my son John, he goes out there and he's taking track readings, he's getting me temperature, and he's letting me know what the quality of the track looks like, so I can go to my database and say, okay, in this track, in this, right, so I can go into an Excel spreadsheet and say, all right, look, on a 100-degree track, in this air quality, I've gone X fast, right? I've been able to go 575. So I try to make all the changes to the car to try to produce a run. Now that sounds great on paper, but you also have to make it happen out there, right? And so
we come from just a week ago, we were watching the race.
Right.
Drag Illustrated's race. It was incredible.
Right.
And I was pointing out to you earlier, I said, when we watch 80-some cars were at this event, and you watch the 32 that are going to make the field. I said to you, man, I don't even know if it matters. You got to drive. I mean, if you give me a good chassis, a good 4,000 horsepower, and a good team, if I can dump that button good, and I'm good, I think that maybe you'd be good in this field.
100%. You know, I think as a whole, all the tuners are out there running the combinations for everything that they are worth, right? Especially at a race like that. And what you find is the rule makers look at the progress of those combinations. They make their changes accordingly to what they see the cars run. So it comes down to everybody going up there may run within a number or two, and it comes down to driving. It's like a pro stock deal. I mean, You look at a lot of cars, like they'll run within one or two numbers. Most of those races are won on a whole shot, or just cutting a good light.
Absolutely.
You can't.
A lot of those drivers were impressive to see that they were not the perfect reaction, but consistent.
That's the big key. Consistency. The other thing that it makes a huge difference on how we tune the cars is consistency in staging the car, because you have numbers that if you stage the car deeper one time and shallower, your 60-foot number changes, but it's not real, right? Because you've just shortened the distance up in the beam. So that can skew your numbers, your ET numbers, right? So the best drivers out there, if you watch them, they stage and do the same thing every single time, so that all the changes that as a tuner we're making, we see it on the ET slip, right?
Absolutely. There's even some guys at the point they eat the same thing. They make sure the regimen of race day is, bottle of water, a hot dog, and that's it. I want to keep my brain focused, But I watch a lot of guys that will study that and say, hey, I'm driving this car, and if you don't, we talked also that if you don't respect that automobile, you might as well just get on the sidelines and watch.
100%. There's things that happen so quickly out there that you have to be on your game, paying attention. We talked a little bit about the feel of the car, just feeling it in the seat,
yes.
Right? And that is the difference between an extremely good driver and somebody that does a good job, but they feel that, they know what's coming, they know how to react to it, right? And like you brought up, doing the same thing over and over again, right? I've worked with some great drivers. I had the opportunity to work with Antron Brown, racing with a small tire. The things that he does leading up to getting in that race car was unbelievable. And it just puts it how crucial and how much effort they put into doing the same thing. You know, wetting his eyes with eye drops and breathing, and it was incredible to see, and stuff that I never had even thought about, right?
Yeah.
But this guy was bringing it to a whole nother level.
He's had so many.
Yeah.
He really showed us the first time in a small tire.
Right.
Tell you, 4-time NHRA Top Fuel champion got in that small Fred or whatever.
Yeah, Fred.
Won
Yep.
the deal.
Yeah.
And people are going, oh, it's because you know it isn't. It's because he's very talented.
Very talented.
You know, a good driver, and I point this out, and I don't usually bring it up, but in the Street Outlaw deal, there's a guy named Dave. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what, I followed, that I didn't announce her, but I followed him. He's one of those guys. I watched him in the 80s Proline in Texas. First time he ever been in a Proline, 390s. I'm saying, see, right there what you said, it's right in the
That's
seat,
right.
the feeling. But there are drivers like that teams would love to have.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
it makes your job easier when he comes back and tells you.
I've worked with a bunch of those guys, and those guys don't get enough credit for the driving ability that they have. They really do a great job. I mean, you look like Kai Kelly. I work with Ryan Martin, and those guys make so many runs in those cars, right?
Oh, yeah.
In different conditions, different track conditions on the street. They have a feel for the car that they know. Ryan will come back and say to me, hey, man, I definitely think it can take more power, you know, and all of them do it, right? So I don't think they get as much credit as they deserve at some of the racing that they do.
You know, speaking of power, I know fans that love to watch the Pro Mod racing. Tell us a little bit about, and you don't have to cross your fingers, what type of power are you guys possessing today? Power-wise. And one thing is the number, one thing is to get it to the ground.
Well, that's the whole key, right? Trying to get as much to the ground as you can. The combinations make, let's say, from 2,800 to 3,000 horsepower. You know, they may swing a little bit, but you know, it's hard to base that to. You would need every combination on the dyno at the same dyno, right? You get variances there, but that's what it comes down. You look at the mile an hour, which NHRA pays attention to, the back half of the cars, and that really says to you roughly who's making power, and then that's where the weights come in, right? One produces a big mile an hour and has an edge. For a few races, they're going to put weight on that combination to get it in check where all the other ones are.
And that's just to make a better show.
Well, it is, absolutely.
You know, because we read and you get on the internet today, oh, they put sandbags on me. You know what? It's just to make the tight racing field.
Right.
And if they can get that deal at NHRA like they had last week, you got to be on the button. You know what I mean? You got to have your nails trimmed, be ready to go. It'd be amazing.
Well, for spectators, the thing that they want to see is close racing. You want to be watching that to the end to know, man, I can't even tell who won that race, right? And it's crazy, and that's what this comes down to. When you watch these cars, when they start running eliminations, they're within a number and a half. I mean, that is nothing on the racetrack. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's incredible. You know. Do you have a favoritism? Do you have a favorite type of power header that you like to tune? So, I will. I'm not trying to put you on. No. Listen. I respect you. I'm just saying. Sometimes you get to tune on everything, but there's that one thing that you just love to do. I've had a lot of success with the ProCharger combination. It's been run now for quite a few years. We've accumulated all this data as a group, myself, Petty, Brandon Stroud, all the guys at the shop, like running that combination, and we have it really worked out, right? I was lucky enough to win a championship. I've actually been in the top three years in a row for NHRA Pro Mod with Chris Thorne, okay? So that combination, I feel like I have more data on that, but as a tuner, I want to learn other combinations. I want to try other things, right? And I feel like there's a lot of things that can be found in the screw blower. That being said, this guy's been running mechanical fuel injection on the screw blowers for years. We're starting to transition over that to electronic fuel injection, and there's things to be learned, right? And so I like the challenge of it. That's the best part about doing the type of job.
it would almost get boring if you just found A to B every time.
No.
To get on a different power adder and learn that to catch up to what your favorite power adder is would say that you're really doing your job well.
Right, and you can't enjoy the good runs if you haven't made the bad runs. I hate to say it, but you don't realize, if you go out there and run great all the time, you take it for granted. It kind of puts it in perspective, like when you have the struggles and then you get it back, man, there's not a better feeling. And I'm not the guy that, we were talking about this, if I make a bad run, I can't just turn around with a smile on my face, be like, oh well, we'll just try again. Oh yeah, I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. I'm, upset. I want to, but it goes hand in hand. When I make a good run, I can't help those emotions. I'm excited about it. You know what I mean? All the guys come together on the crew. The car runs great. I made good calls on it. The guys did a great job. Nothing's falling off. Nothing's leaking. It's a team effort. You know.
Some of the things are you're tuning when you're up there and you're getting that shot at the track. It's slim to none. Every round you lose in a qualifying round, meaning something goes awry, and you're behind.
You're behind. I'm that guy that I typically go up for Q1. I'm a little more conservative on Q1. I need to make that run. I don't care what the ET is. I really don't. I just need to make a good, clean run to have confidence, and then I can look at that and say, all right, here's all the areas I can pick this thing up. When you abort a run, have an issue, you don't know exactly how to fix it. You don't. You're going to go back and look at other things.
I appreciate what you just said, and the fans should too, because it's not just push the button, start the car, and drive.
No.
They watch this and we see such perfect runs and such perfect numbers and mile per hours, but
there is so much
that's involved in that.
100%. And like I said, that goes through the team. Like chassis changes that need to be made for conditions, tire pressure in the lanes. Those guys are changing tire pressure going up there right before it's in the burnout box because we see something. You know what I mean? Wheelie bar heights right on the starting line. When you notice something's going on the track, you're like, man, I need to do this, or the track tighten up. So we're making all these last minute changes, and I'll typically load the computer up with different files in it that I can hit a button and change the tune-up based off of what I see and what I see other guys doing.
Nope.
You know the cars to pay attention to, you know what I mean? And if they make a good run, and let's just say I'm up there thinking I'm going to go a 578, Petty rips off a 572, I know I got to step up my game, right?
Yeah.
So,
he's letting you know,
yeah. Oh yeah, he's letting you know. He's letting you know. No. He just gives you that smirk as he walks off the starting line, and you know you got to get your game. You got to be on your game.
Very nice. If there's anything in your mind technical that the fans would love to know, and I mean, we talked about the drivers, and it is good to have a driver that is so consistent in what he does on race day. But is there anything else in those pits that really a fan would want to know? I mean, we talk about how hard it is. It isn't easy. I mean, this is one of the hardest classes in drag racing. I mean, when it comes to door cars. You know,
I think one thing that guys maybe outside looking into the fans, I don't think they realize maybe all the time and effort that the guys working on the car put into them. And I think that gets overshadowed sometimes. And without those guys, for instance, I'm just going to give you some stuff. Last year, racing with Chris Thorne, my son, I had him changing converters every single run in the car. We cycled like 50 converters through that car. And the effort.
Did the incremental show?
Oh yeah, and I'm going to tell you, like, I was trying all these things, trying to find an edge, right? That's what we're trying to do out there. I had Petty many times coming over in my trailer and be like, what are you doing? Put the stuff back that you know how to run. And I'd be like, Petty, I think I'm close. And there was I don't even know how many times we were outside looking in on Q4. We made a change and we went #1 qualifier. And that right there, for me, I know it's a little stressful for the whole team, but then everybody's excited. Right now, like, man, we did all this work and look what you got. So
I'll give you a little converter story real fast with Petty. Dave Hance, when he raced.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was in Ohio, and when that car hit the throttle in Ohio, you front end up, the wheel stand all the way to the finish line.
Yep.
I saw Steve, and Steve's really a mellow dude. He came over and he goes, David, what converters in that car? And here's David, the nicest guy in the world. You want to try it? I got an extra one.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, right.
And then you started seeing a lot of improvement in the converters because he didn't know if he had the right one. He just put the deal together, and that's how she flew, you know?
Okay, so you bring up a good point, right? Right now, what NHRA does with the combinations, a lot of the gains that we see are by trying different transmission ratios and by the converter, right? And what Mark does is he gives us options, right? We have all these components that we can swap and try different things, and there's so many options that you may be close and make the smallest change, and it nets you huge results.
I would tell the fans what he says. He's speaking of Mark Mickey, M&M Transmissions, right?
Right.
And the guy has one of the world's fastest pro mods. Whether it's outlaw or not, he's been down the track very fast.
Right.
So
Yes, he has.
I just wanted to get that out so they know.
Yeah, and a guy like Mark and all the guys at M&M Transmission, like they're on site here. Troy Williams, he's there to help us if we have an issue, to give us any support that we need, which is huge at this class. Like I said, when you're trying to get every last bit out of this combination, that's where we focus a lot of our attention. You know,
the Red Hat Mafia. And I remember the Beard of Knowledge. He's retired now from
Hawaii.
He's a great man.
Yes, he is.
Good person, but that all came in. You guys started wearing red hats, and then the Red Hat Mafia came out, and it's been like a tuner's delight. I mean, anyone who sees that, they're like, watch out, here comes the Red Hat Mafia.
So real quick, that all started my son, who races with me all the time now. When he was younger, he would watch me on live feed, and he could not make out. He used to wear a black hat. He could never make out where I was. So Proline had a red hat. I just happened to wear it. He was able to see me going. And I got to give credit, Ryan Rakestraw from RK Racecraft, who's a sponsor and stuff like that. He's the one who came up with Red Hat Mafia, and I'm like, man, that's perfect. That's a perfect deal. So all the guys that work with me, my son, that's how people can find us. My customers know they're just looking for the red hat rolling around, and so.
Hey, I understand minutes. Is there anyone that has a question for Jamie Miller? Anyone? Just feel free to ask about ProMod or anything that's on your mind. He'll answer it for you. Anyone?
Yeah.
Come on.
Body styles.
All right, body styles.
Styles. I mean, I'm talking old stuff. Are they ever going to put that back? Can they make the windshield skip back more, make it more aerodynamic to have those older style bodies?
Tell the fans what he asked.
Right. So basically, he's asking about, will we see the older body styles? And NHRA is working on trying to come up with weights that they allow the older body styles to get something so it just doesn't look like Pro Stock, we'll say, right? So there was a 55 Chevy that Tim Wallace was campaigning, right? They had that at the wind tunnel. So yes, they are trying to get those body styles and make weight changes so that those cars can come out and be competitive, which I think as fans, I want to see it too, right? And so that it just doesn't, it's not a 69 or a 19 Camaro running down the racetrack.
Bring the Willis back.
Yeah.
Man.
Absolutely.
Bring the Willis, the split window Corvette. Camaros are beautiful, but I'm with you on the older body styles. It goes back to the old days, man. It's good.
I agree too, but again, going back to what we talked about, the class is so competitive that they have to make enough adjustments in the rules to make those cars, because the guy's going to go out and spend $300,000-$400,000 race car. He wants to come out and have a chance, right? But they are actively working on that. Yes.
Let's get one more question. Anyone? One more. We have time for one more question. Feel free. Ask whatever you'd like. This guy right here with the glasses. Come here. You got a question for Jamie. What type of screwdrivers does he use? Craftsman. Anyway, but I thank you for everything.
Thank you, Al. This was fun.
It's been a pleasure.
It's fun.
I wish I've known you for many years. I wish you the best today.
Thank you, sir.
Sitting next to you with some of the most peaceful guys
Oh, yeah.
that you'll ever see in the sport.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Jamie Miller, Al Tucci.